Are you thinking about full-time RVing?
Or do you RV part-time and you want to go full-time? Today we're going to cover the pros and cons of the full-time RV lifestyle.
Relevant, relatable, and reliable information from full-time RVers.
So the idea for this video came about when we were talking with MJ and Izzy from Endless RVing. They had talked about doing a video collaboration where they talked about the pros and cons of part-time RVing, since that's what they do right now, and we talked about the full-time RVing, pros and cons of.
Which I think is very interesting because we jumped right into the RV lifestyle full-time. We never did the part-time aspect. So if you're interested about part-time RVing and the benefits of being a weekend warrior, check out their video here.
So before we get started, stay tuned to the end because we have 3 questions that you're going to need to ask yourself if you're interested in full-time RVing.
So for the purpose of this video, we know categories of full-time RVers can be broken down into many different categories, but we broke them down into 2. One will be the full-time RVers that go campground to campground, or they do extended long-term stays at campgrounds.
Yeah, and the other one would be kind of more like what we are. We're nomadic in nature. We don't like to go to campgrounds that often. We will go when needed if we need to dump tanks or fill water or get rid of garbage or something like that. But we like to be on the move every 2 weeks or so, even more sometimes. And we also like to be out in the boondocks, boondocking.
So we are the extreme of the full-time RVers, and we probably will test the limits on a lot of things. So we are going to cover the pros and cons of what it means to be that type of full-time RVer.
So right off the bat, as you can see behind us, we end up into great locations that we typically have all to ourselves.
The places that we have been are just beautiful, and you really can't get some of these locations if you are in a traditional campground. That's the number 1 pro, I think, that I like the best.
Yeah, another pro about being a full-time nomadic RVer is the fact that we are flexible. We're not stuck in a location.
Well, the flexibility also comes in handy when there's weather, when there's bad weather.
Yeah.
Or if you don't like your neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. And so if you're in an area where, let's say, you have campers that are more noisy than you like, we can move around for events, for family members.
Yeah.
Our son got married. We were able to pick up and go and not have to worry about trying to get somewhere.
Now, another benefit of being full-time is you always have everything with you.
Yes.
This took a very long time for both of us to get used to. We go to a location and we're like, oh, I hope I've got this, or I hope I've got that. And then it would hit, yeah, I do, because I have everything with me. Everything I own is with me.
If you have OCD like I do, he was so grateful for this because when we had sticks and bricks, every time we left the house, I always worried about a few things.
Yeah.
Did I turn the stove off?
Curling iron,
Or the garage door?
Yeah.
Now we know we can check on all of that.
It's super easy to check. Other than before, we'd have to turn around. Now we can just walk back to the RV and check that.
The next pro is we don't have any mortgage or rent to pay.
Yeah.
Now, some people can go into this with some debt because they've financed their rigs, which is fine. The individual's financial status will vary across the board. We chose to go into this without any debt, so we chose an older model, and we have no rent and no mortgage, so we don't have to worry about it, especially in today's times right now.
And here's the thing too. We made sure that our older model was set up. We have 960 watts of solar.
You got it in.
430 amp hours of battery and large tanks. And what this does is we don't have to pay electricity.
That's another cost-saving measure.
Yeah, because really, we've been out here in this location for about 7 days right now, and we haven't run the generator once. We haven't needed to hook up. I think another thing too is, though we don't have electrical bills, I would say we still have gas in 2 forms.
Yes.
Gas bills. Gas bills would be the gas to move around, as well as the propane that we need for cooking and heating and that sort of thing.
Now, another pro, we choose to boondock a lot, which means camping for free. Now, it does pose some problems sometimes because you do have to be very resourceful. You have to know where you can go. And lately, with everything that's been going on in the world, you do have to be a little bit extra resourceful trying to find these places. Now, another pro on this and another money saver, we are not as materialistic. Doesn't mean we don't want things and we don't want to have those things, but our space is limited.
Yeah.
So we save a lot of money because we're not buying as much.
Yeah, when we were living in sticks and bricks, we bought a ton of stuff we really didn't even need, and sometimes it was only a mild want, but we had room for it. Being out on the road, we really have to make our decisions. Do we really want this, or is it a need? And I'll tell you, that has saved us so much money. Being full-time, our expenditures have gone way down.
Yes, the wants versus needs really take a priority in our decision making now. And I think back to the way we were when we were in sticks and bricks before, and how much money we could have saved if we had applied the same logic that we do now.
Yeah, another good thing too is just being together. We are able to be together more so than before when we were never part-timers.
Now that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it.
So we were never part-timers. We just got into this, jumped right into full-timing. But when we were back in sticks and bricks, there were a lot of times we didn't see each other for days and days. Carrie traveled for her job. Mm-hmm. I traveled for my job. So just the fact that we're able to reconnect and spend a lot of time together is I think a pro of being full-time RVers.
And we get to be around the pets a lot more too.
That's right.
Now for some of the cons.
Mm-hmm.
The things that might make your life a little bit more frustrating if you're a full-time RVer.
Yeah.
And the way that we full-time RV, dumping the tanks and filling the freshwater tanks are problematic from time to time because we aren't at a campground where you can just easily hook up all the time.
Yeah, and here's the thing with part-timers, they're able to they're usually going to campgrounds, mm-hmm. or when they're coming back, they'll just pull in somewhere and dump a tank.
Or a shorter trip.
Exactly. Or they can fill up at their house. So just like right now, we are struggling. The tanks are not that bad right now, but water. We only have about 8 gallons of water right now, but we want to stay out here another 7 days, so we're kind of rationing the water.
Now, another part about that is even just dumping your trash.
Yeah.
So when you're traveling on the road, I had this brilliant idea when we renovated our RV to get a big traditional household garbage can inside our rig, but then I couldn't find anywhere to just dump a large trash bag in unless you were really lucky on a highway rest stop where they had the big bins.
Carrie had a good idea to combat that. She started just using the Walmart bags. Now, one, that's cheaper, but the main reason we started doing that was because
they're
small, and any gas station that we pull in to refuel at, any Walmart,
yep.
they have trash cans that we're able to fit those into. Now, another tough situation is getting mail when you're full-time.
Now, we do have mail service, and you'll see a lot of videos out there. We've even done one before talking about how you get mail on the road, and there are ways to do it. But what really is problematic is the time delay and the cost.
Yeah, you end up paying double usually. Unless you get free shipping from somewhere,
right?
Then all you're having to do for us is pay for shipping from our mail service to either
wherever
a campground or something like that. But if we have to pay shipping on an item, we'll have to pay it to our mail service and then out to wherever we are. So that is difficult to deal with.
And if you're waiting for something to come in the mail quickly, it gets sent to your mail service and then wherever you will be. So you have that extra time delay. Now, another thing that could be considered a con on the road is medical. You are at the whim of wherever you are as far as medical services.
Yeah, you don't have that family doctor that knows you well, knows what right. you're dealing with. That even goes down to dentists, to pets. Mm-hmm. We've decided we used Banfield for a long time because that was everywhere, because they're usually in PetSmarts?
Yeah, and they could always pull up your records
online.
That's probably the easiest and most efficient way if you're traveling with pets full time, because there are PetSmarts just about anywhere that you travel. But for us, like what you brought up for the dentist,
yeah.
you're just going to have to go with wherever we're at. Now, there are a lot of advances nowadays with teledoctors, mm-hmm. or I'm not even sure what they call it, but where you can online and
yeah, it's like Skyping a doctor.
So that helps a lot when you're full-time RVing and you travel a lot. But if you still want that comfort of having your regular GP where you can go to the same person all the time, that is something to consider if you have health situations.
Now, another con of being a full-time RVer, especially nomadic like we are, is that if you find a beautiful spot, kind of like what we have here, and you don't want to go,
You have to.
yeah, you usually get about 14 days if you're on BLM or other federal lands. So that's kind of difficult. But, you know, the good thing about that is we've had so many places that we said, oh, we wish we could just stay here forever. And then you just find more and more and more.
That's the toughest part because you don't know exactly what you're going to be getting into. You can see some pictures that people put online on the apps that help you find it. Like we use Campendium and Allstays, and they are fantastic for giving you a rough idea. But when you get to a location that you absolutely love, you don't want to leave.
Yeah, and we've been very lucky. We've found amazing sites. Now, we have also found some not so amazing sites. You know, it's not always, full-timing is not always like this. A lot of times it's in a Walmart parking lot or a Cracker Barrel or a truck stop or a rest stop. Heck, we spent our anniversary in a rest stop in Ohio.
On a highway rest stop. Yeah.
So that's a definite con.
Yes.
Another issue is internet. Now, I think that is probably pretty close between full-timers and weekend warriors, because even if you go to a campground that says we have internet, we have Wi-Fi,
usually it's only for email.
it's usually pretty
or
spotty.
really slow.
We've been in some good ones. We've been in that one outside of Wilcox, Arizona, that KOA that had 5G.
Oh yes, if you are looking for the fastest campground Wi-Fi ever, the
Yeah.
KOA in Wilcox, Arizona. Hands down.
But no, we do struggle with that. That's probably one of our, you know, being that we're a YouTube channel and that we both work remotely, that's another thing we struggle with. So we have taken steps to make that a little easier. We have our phones that we hotspot. We have a Verizon Jetpack that we hotspot off of. We have a WineGuard Togo, you know, which is AT&T that we go off of. We have a WeBoost that we use. You know, we just have to have every advantage to get that data that we can.
What some would probably consider the biggest con is space. If you are used to sticks and bricks and having that room to spread out.
You know, another great, and I say this a lot, if you watch our videos for any amount of time, you've heard me say this so many times, but it is so very true, and you need to be aware of this, is that an RV, if you're living in it, or even if you're a weekend warrior
And taking a long
vacation, an RV is an amplifier. If things are really good, they're even better in an RV. But if things are not so good, they get bad in an RV.
Now, let's talk about, along this con, what's going on in the world with COVID-19 and people having to shelter in place. If you are in an RV, it's even smaller than what most people are confined to. And if you are in an RV in a campground, you are limited to being in that RV. Now, it rained for the last 3 days while we were here, so we were inside most of the time. And I have to admit, I even got antsy. When the sun came out today, the first thing I wanted to do was just get outside.
So let's talk about that. You know, I think that being a full-time RVer, even before all this COVID-19 stuff came about, really prepared us for it, because we spent a lot of time inside the rig, especially when we were in Tennessee and it rained for 3 months. We got used to social distancing.
Yep.
We feel much safer out here. There's nobody within a mile or two of us. Maybe a car will drive by every once in a while. So we feel very well isolated and insulated. But with that being said, there is also a bit of concern. It makes you feel like you're out on an island. Now, being out on an island, being isolated is good, but also being out on an island needing supplies. And, you know, where do we go after these 14 days? That is a little bit of a stressor. Or are they going to shut this place down like they did Army Corps of Engineers that we were at? That was a little bit of a stressor.
Yesterday, we were just working, looking forward to spending another 7 days at this boondocking spot, and a gentleman came and approached our rig and told us that we had 24 hours to vacate, that the Army Corps of Engineers was shutting down even their dispersed camping sites. How do you feel about that, Dave?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because we were out in the middle of nowhere. Our closest neighbor was over 200 yards away. And now it's just forcing all the full-timers into more populous areas. But they've obviously got their reasons.
Now, as we promised, We are going to give you 3 questions that you really need to ask yourself if you consider being a full-time RVer. And the first one is, what type of full-time RVer will you be? Because that will greatly impact what you need to consider.
Can you live minimally? We kind of just talked about this earlier. There are a lot of things that we had to leave behind and get rid of. Can you be resourceful?
And resourceful can be considered in a variety of different areas. One, being resourceful. If you want to be nomadic like us, you have to find these places. No maps, no apps. Learning how to get to certain places, whether your rig can get to a certain place. As you move your rig from place to place, you are going to have to be resourceful because things will happen with your rig. So get to know your rig would be the number one thing that I would say learn right away.
Yeah. If you want to see the pros and cons of being a part-time RVer, make sure to check out Endless RVing's
Our favorite
video.
weekend warriors.
Yeah. We'll put their link right here. We'll have an end screen that you can check out.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light, running tired and broken and scared.